Modern day Blizzard is so incompetent, players are now accusing them of intentionally sabotaging the patch. This is absolutely unbelievable. Blizzard, not even 10 years ago, was considered the company that's gonna delay a game for a year or two so they can get that Blizzard tier attention to detail. Blizzard was one of the companies that was hailed and beloved by their players for attention to detail and making everything absolutely crisp perfect. And now Blizzard, they're getting accused of sabotaging their own games because they're this incompetent. And some people still cannot live with the fact that modern day Blizzard is just a bunch of activist losers. The day Bobby Kotick left, everything just got destroyed. The activists took over, and instead of people with skill, now they are hiring people with the correct political views. A truly diabolical fall, honestly, of a once beloved company that created so many things that we loved. Except Diablo 3. That was still garbage, even at the time when Blizzard was still kinda good.
You know, there's a phenomenon called firefighter arson. It's when a firefighter goes out and starts a fire. That might sound like nonsense, but
Nah, they do it to be the heroes. Off-duty cops do the same thing.
apparently it's a thing that happens, and it kind of gives them a chance to be hero for the day. And this is still a video about the pre-patch though, because Blizzard have kind of been accused of doing the exact same thing. This pre-patch event seems to have gone down so poorly that people are starting to believe it's almost being done like this on purpose. You know, Blizzard setting fire to their own game so they can rush in, fix it, and claim the glory. Now that's obviously not true, but it has happened.
Yeah, they're way too incompetent to pull something like that off. They're never gonna fix it if that was really the intention.
So many times in a row that by this stage, I don't think anyone is surprised. And that's a really bad thing. So today we're going to work out just what the hell's going on with this pre-patch. Pre-patch events in WoW are never too complicated, but this one is certainly the most simple. 6 quests, with only 4 actual objectives. There are some world quests, a tic-tac-toe minigame, and 18 rares to kill. Now those...
Is tic-tac-toe not a little bit too hard for the average World of Warcraft classic? Not classic. Well, also classic, I guess. Tic-tac-toe has more than 2 mechanics, see?
Rare spawn as part of a regular event. So once a rare is up, everyone flies over, zergs down a few mobs, then kills the rare, and that's basically it. Now for doing that, you get...
Oh no, that is so bad. That sounds exactly what they did before Shadowlands, boys. Oh no. Oh no, is Midnight gonna be another Shadowlands? That would be so sad, because I'm actually thinking of returning to retail for a bit when Midnight hits, because some of the stuff that they added there seems kind of interesting, and I would like to see how it actually plays out. I am actually interested in what's gonna happen. Well, I'm not interested in the story, but I am interested in to see those mechanics. Just casually playing World of Warcraft and getting up a character is kind of fun-ish, if you can ignore the fact that you're a, chess piece in a very gay, main story, honestly.
Insignia as a reward and a chance at some champion gear. And like always, those insignias can be traded in. Over at the cosmetic vendor for a mount recolor, some new weapon transmogs, and some old classic armor. Or at this other vendor for gear that will see you into midnight. Though there are a few other rewards, like a mount recolor as an achievement for killing every single rare.
That is honestly kind of smart, but so wild and stupid at the same time that Blizzard have done this. Because, dude, making it so that you can replace all your current gear with gear for free without trying is just Blizzard once again degrading your achievements and your work one more time, which is just great. But the fact that you can get a better gear than the new expansion right off the bat is just stupid. It's just so stupid. But on one hand, it's kind of smart, so people can gear up alts, technically. But I don't know, I don't like it.
Now, of course, you may look at this and think it all sounds rather inoffensive or maybe a bit normal. But you see, I haven't actually told you how much everything costs. At launch, you are getting 1 insignia from a rare every 10 minutes. a single piece of gear would cost 40 of them. So that's over 400 minutes, most of which would be spent just AFK, waiting. Over 6.5 hours is what that comes out to for a single piece of gear. That's what it launched with. If you wanted all the cosmetics from the vendor instead, you would need 475 insignias. If you just farm them out this way, it would take 80 hours. Now, I'm being a little unfair there. There's the weekly quests that give you an upfront stack, and world quests that give you more than the rares. But those things are limited, and even if you were to cut that in half from other sources, you'd still be looking at like 40 hours of farming. But even worse, it would actually take you longer than that, because other people can teleport you away. And I'm not kidding, this is actually happening. Blizzard put a portal to Donegal in the zone, but they somehow messed it up where instead of the portal teleporting you, it teleports your target, so you can just yeet someone somewhere else. So obviously, chaos ensued. People were reliving the glory days of griefing, teleporting each other, across the entirety of Azeroth. At least for a while anyway. That sort of thing is usually fixed real quick. But as funny as it is far from the only problem. People are reporting that the world quests don't work if your character has done quests in the Twilight Highlands, and on top of that, Blizzard forgot to disable faction-based tapping in the cross-faction event, and even stranger, they forgot to put a ranged weapon in the loot table. So, sorry, hunters. And to top it all off, midnight crafting materials and transmogs are now showing up on the auction house. That obviously shouldn't happen. Now, by Wednesday night, they had already...
Wow, that is quite an astonishing amount of incompetence, to be honest.
Already pushed changes. The portal was fixed, obviously. Rares now spawn in every 5 minutes, and they give you 2 to 3 insignias. Gear drops from the rares are now 3 times as likely, and they're not limited to 1 per day per rare. The vendor gear now costs 20, down from 40, and that's why I started off talking about firefighter arson. Those are all good changes, but they shouldn't have been needed, and that's basically why it looks like firefighter arson to people. And I get it. I mean, if you look at the raw maths here, the event is at least now 5 times easier. Blizzard had to change every single number to get it closer to right, and that makes you think, did they even try in the first place? And you know what? Maybe they didn't. Because for basically every recent patch, Blizzard have pushed a reward system that's been undertuned, and then they've waited for feedback to improve it. They, I guess, seem to think that that works well internally. I can't say what they think, but it keeps on happening. And at this stage, I just have to say that it's really quite cowardly. It is the behavior of a team that does not want to take responsibility for getting something right. So they ship it clearly wrong and then just let the live data show them the answer. If you're a good designer, you should be able to hit the mark a lot more close than this. It essentially seems they've learned to use their live service feedback loop as a crutch, even if that is a real shitty experience for actual players who are paying real money and are playing on launch day. Launch day being the big day that Blizzard hypes up and markets for their new patch. So, I don't know how many patches in a row I'll have to make basically the same sort of video talking about the same thing, saying there's a new thing in WoW, some of it looks good, but don't play it for at least 2 or 3 days, or maybe a week. Because patch day doesn't actually mean they're
That is hilarious. Imagine you see a good game that you want to play and no, you can't for a couple of days because it's actually really bad. That is hilarious.
Launching a patch. It basically means that's the day they're sending you in as a paid tester. And normally I wouldn't say something like that because it would sound like a conspiracy theory. And to be clear, I don't think this is overtly what they planned for. But by now it has happened so many times in a row. Though you may have heard the phrase, exploit early, exploit often. If I was to say, recommend you wait a week before you play a new patch, well, who knows, maybe you'd miss the day 1 exploit or something like that, which can make it feel a bit damned if you do, damned if you don't. This pre-patch event then is the icing on the cake for possibly the most unfinished pre-patch of all time. And it does just make us ask, Blizzard, why did you bother with any of this? Why are Blizzard doing this to themselves, and of course, to us? I mean, if you look at the event, it's thematic enough. Twilight's Blade are relevant in Midnight, but showing them off now, with almost no context, kind of undercuts their appearance in the early Midnight story. The rewards, from the mounts to the gear, are also not particularly inspired, and all of this goes down in the Twilight Highlands because, I guess, it's got, Twilight in the name, and it's a convenient enough zone for Blizzard to stick a phase onto. And even if you look at the execution, I mean, the Void Elf camps and
What the hell is this god girlfriend material?
NPCs are seemingly just plopped into the area, just willy-nilly. It doesn't feel crafted and polished, which is
I mean, they literally always are, so I don't know why you start complaining now about this. This has been a thing forever.
of course what we should expect from Blizzard. It makes you think, is this all just filler to kill time? And I think it probably is that.
Well, yeah. Be happy that Blizzard is not throttling you too hard this time, at least, you know, because Blizzard has this irrational fear of allowing players to think for themselves, which is kind of funny.
Blizzard don't have the time to do this properly, so they phoned it in. Not because they wanted to, but probably because they had to. Instead of something new, they made another rare farm waste of time. That's gameplay that we've been vocal about wanting a break from since Zaralek Cavern pissed us off all the way back in 2023. And here's the thing. We've always had pre-patch events. Some have been well received, like Legion's Invasions and Dragonflight's Primal Storms. But for this one, Blizzard just treated it like a chore. It's like this is their version of just doing the dishes just so you can have them be done. It's clear that no one had the time or the will to make this something worth logging in for. And to be clear, it's not worth logging in for. And that's the exact same vibe that we got, say, flying around some of the Zaralek rares, and to some degree from some of the Koresh world content. Their focus is clearly already on the next expansion, or the next patch, and not necessarily in the stuff that we're about to play very soon. And honestly, with an expansion about to release and a patch due 6 weeks after that, it's kind of hard to blame them. I mean, we've all been there before in our own lives, and that's why I think something probably needs to change. Because at this point, Blizzard needs to be more realistic about what they can actually put their effort into, and what they can actually ship to a good level of quality. Because if they don't do that, we'll have another expansion of Nightfalls, Dastardly Duos, and Radiant Echoes. Those are all things that shipped. But I think everyone would be much happier, Blizzard and probably us, if they cut some of that chaff out and just focused on making better gameplay. Because I actually think that's the problem here. I think they're too busy making random filler stuff to actually make good gameplay, and to focus on the quality of what they do.
Well, Blizzard has literally taken years to try and make people accept random shitty filler stuff. And so they just continue to make random filler stuff because that's all they know how to do now. Everything Blizzard does is random filler stuff. If you haven't noticed that content cadence for an expansion is just random filler stuff for the most part. It's here's one raid, here's another, and between it's the same thing, some kind of way to acquire a pre-dat raid gear. That's it. It's not a big thing. It's not hard to understand.
Deliver. And I don't mean some sweat lord combat. I mean something else to do that isn't an utter chore, like what they've shipped here, or that, of course, is actually shipped with a pacing and reward system that vaguely makes sense. And while the bugs are frustrating, I don't think that's the main problem. So let me explain. The worst offense here isn't the bugs. It's not that it's unfinished. It's that it doesn't actually respect you as a player. Now that is something Blizzard continually talks about, basically being the pillar of how they make World of Warcraft, that everything they do is for you. If that were true, something of such low quality would not be shipped. Now, Twilight Ascension is very similar to Dragonflight.
Oh, that's big words, honestly. Holy. Oh, man. Painful. I mean, true, but guess the paychecks from Blizzard are running low, huh?
Event, but in a buggier pre-patch and with more waiting. That's an important difference, but it's not the most important one. In this, there's no real reason to farm the mobs. You just sit in one place and you wait for the
Also, by the way, does anyone else hate this? The phasing, the seamless phasing of the world. Doesn't that, I hate it. Look at this.
difference, but it's not the most
Suddenly, everyone just appears because you just phased into a different layer. I absolutely despise that.
important one. In this, there's no real reason to farm the mobs. You just sit in one place and you wait for the rares. In Dragonflight's pre-patch, you could farm the mobs. Same with Dragonflight's launch content that was fairly well received, like the Obsidian Citadel and the Cobalt Assembly. Farming mobs may sound boring, and it can be boring, but let me put it another way. In those other systems, players had something they could actually do. They could press buttons on their keyboard and see things happen that mattered, even if only a little. Mobs dying in their screen usually meant they were making progress. That's how it worked in those events.
I also think that this is kind of the hidden thing that actually has ruined World of Warcraft. It's the fact that we have lowered the bar so much by a lot of World of Warcraft content creators especially, that just the fact that the game where nothing you do really matters, but the mob dying is technically supposed to be good, is a good thing. No, there should be some kind of solution to this. There should be some kind of... There should be something better than this. The fact that you press a button and it doesn't really matter, but the mob dies and that is a good thing on a theoretical level, is really, really poor and bad design. This is the problem with World of Warcraft. People have accepted mediocrity and poor design as good enough. And well, everything that comes with that, honestly. It's kind of pathetic in my honest opinion.
But in this kind of event, it's literally just a waiting game. You're not actually playing a game anymore. You're just engaging with an obvious reward system. Nothing you can do will speed it up, or slow it down, or improve your rewards. It's just show up, wait, tag the mob, that's it. There is no gameplay. And I don't mean when I say there's no gameplay, that there needs to be hard bosses or anything like that. What I'm saying is, there needs to be a game. Hey, maybe the reason they put the tic-tac-toe toy in is because they knew the event has nothing
That's sad.
to do in it, and at least tic-tac-toe is a goddamn game, not a waiting simulator. The rather legendary Civilization designer Sid Meier said that a good game is a series of interesting decisions. And I do think that that quote has been quite often misused, but I think that the Dragonflight grinds are a decent example. They were mindless grinds, but you could still play them. You could swap your talents to maximize mob tags or AoE.
Also, you know what I hate also about this game a lot? Also, I said also too many times in that sentence. But it's this. It's right what you see here. Blizzard just keep adding these annoying, stupid mobs that make you lose control of your character for no reason. Like this tornado. Get shot up in the air. Wow, can't do anything. Wow, that's really fun, said literally no one ever in the history of ever. And Blizzard just keeps adding this. It's just such a poor, stupid mechanic, okay? It's not even a main thing. I understand losing control of your character as a main mechanic, but the fact that something just magically plumps up, you can't predict it, or you can't play around it and it makes you lose control of your character, that is just abysmally poor mechanic creation.
But you could still play them. You could swap your talents to maximize mob tags or AoE damage. Over time, you'd get used to routes that matched respawn timers. You could even find groups that were trying to optimize the whole thing. You could engage. All those things are tiny decisions that made up playing a game. This pre-patch event doesn't let you make any decisions. Well, I mean, there's an obvious decision.
I mean, typical Blizzard.
Are you going to bother with this thing? My personal answer is no. I'm not wasting my time in this shit. It's a complete waste of time. Now, there's lots of stuff in Midnight that looks fantastic, that I am really excited for. But this event? No, this is not it. And Blizzard, if you're going to market something as a big event, a big patch, if you're going to have, like, literal, marketing events like the one that I believe...
By the way, I absolutely so I love this. It's just how little the lore in the game makes any goddamn sense at all. It's the fact that this is clearly some kind of propaganda spewing thing. There was that Scarlet thing, by the way, which was propaganda, which was just spread in the main cities and everywhere willy-nilly. And I love that in a world where literally every single uh, faction and race is some kind of form of monarchy, that this stuff is just allowed, okay? In a place where a ruler is not put in by the people, but by duels, lineage, or something like that. That propaganda is just blatantly allowed. I just love the fact that the world is honestly this poorly made for World of Warcraft at this point. I think it's hilarious. Anyway, that was Bellier, World of Warcraft 10 out of 10. Bye.